And then the last tournament for the South American clay court swing is going to be the Santiago Open. We got some clay court tennis in February. Yeah, so we're gonna go look at the seeds. This is gonna be the draw preview, reaction. Look at some of the first round matchups, some of the matchups that we could possibly see later in the tournament as well. So let's start off by looking at last year's results first. So last year's results, the semifinals were Francisco Cerundolo versus Laszlo Jerry, where Laszlo Jerry actually defeated Francisco Cerundolo. And we also had Sebastian Baez versus Camilo Ugo Carabelli. And then we had Laszlo Jerry defeating Sebastian Baez in the final for Laszlo Jerry to win an ATP title. So as we look towards this year, the seeds in this tournament, we got Francisco Cerundolo, Luciano Darderi, Sebastian Baez, Ugo Carabelli, Martin Echeverry, Berrettini, Comesaña, and Tabilo. These are the same group of guys that we've seen so far, kind of in the clay court February tournaments as well. What we saw in Rio, what we saw similar in Buenos Aires as well, with one exception, one big exception, and that being the lack of João Fonseca. Been a tough start to the year for Fonseca. Is he fully healthy? What's the deal with his level right now? Hasn't been able to get the results. But he decided to skip this tournament, maybe looking towards Indian Wells and some of the Sunshine Double, or maybe just looking towards the clay court swing after the Sunshine Double, perhaps as well. All right, so let's go right into the seeds and some of the matchups. So let's start off. We got Francisco Cerundolo matched up in the same section as Matteo Berrettini. Very interesting in that one. We got Berrettini versus Nava and Buchaga Muller in the first round as well. I do see Cerundolo. I think he makes it into the quarterfinals. I do think a Cerundolo Berrettini match could definitely be on the cards for the quarterfinals. But we will see. Then in the next section, we have four-seeded Ugo Carabelli matched up with Echeverry. We also have Nicholas Yari in this section as well. Definitely watch out for Yari. Very dangerous opponent, and this is obviously his home tournament as well. So yeah. Then on the bottom half, we got Tabilo, Barrios Vera, an all Chilean first round match. And that's exciting. Tirante Buse. Wow, now that's a sneaky, interesting first round matchup. Both have had both are solid players in general, and both have had pretty good starts to the year. Buse having a couple big wins last week in ATP Rio. And we also got Garin. So we got a couple of Chileans in this section as well. Juan Manuel Cerundolo, Sebastian Baez. This is quite a strong section. And then in the bottom part of this section, we got Vitko Priva. He's been playing well on the clay. Navone. We got Darderi, Comesaña, Pedro Martinez. Yeah, so I would probably say the bottom half is a little bit stronger than the top half. And that third section, the Baez section, is one to watch out for. So then in terms of picks for who I think is going to win this tournament, I do think to make it into the semifinals from the top section, got to start off with Francisco Cerundolo, and I do see a Cerundolo Berrettini match. I think Cerundolo brings back his Buenos Aires level and makes it into the semifinals in this one. Then in the next section, Ugo Carabelli section, Echeverry. I'm looking at Echeverry. I'm a little skeptical about that second round match against Yari. I think Ugo Carabelli makes to the quarterfinal. It's going to depend who he plays in that quarterfinal to make the semifinal. I'll actually be going with Ugo Carabelli to make to the semifinal. I think his path is a little bit easier, and I can see, him, a Carabelli Echeverry matchup in the quarterfinals is probably 55% Echeverry, 45% Ugo Carabelli. But I think him versus any of the other players, I'd probably go with Ugo Carabelli. And I'm just not sure if Echeverry is going to make it to the quarterfinals. So I think do a little bit of math there. I think the smart play is to go Ugo Carabelli into the semifinals. Then in the bottom half of the draw, tough section for Sebastian Baez, and he had a good start to the season on the hard courts, bad start to the season on the clay courts. I think he turns it around right here. But it's going to be a tough second round match against the winner of Juan Manuel Cerundolo and Garin. It's going to be tricky. I do have Baez into the quarterfinals, and I think whoever he plays, he's going to be playing a good opponent in the quarterfinals. Really tricky draw here for Sebastian Baez. And to be honest, I was expecting, if you told me before Looking at the draw, do I have Sebastian Baez into the semifinals of this tournament? I would say yes, but seeing this draw, I think it's going to be too difficult for Sebastian Baez. I don't think he can string two wins together against the players in this section. So I'm actually not going to be picking Sebastian Baez in this one, and I'm also not going to be picking 8 seed Tavila on this one. I think the winner of the Tirante Buse match have a very good chance, and I think the winner of the Cerundolo Garin match has a very good chance. Now, out of those four players, who am I going to pick? I'm going to pick Tirante into the semifinals. Then in the bottom section, we do have some qualifiers still to pick in this section. I think a Vitko Priva Darderi second round matchup could be super, super interesting. I do think Darderi bounces back though from some disappointments in ATP Rio, and I think he strings together enough results to make it into the semifinals. And that leaves semifinals of Francisco Cerundolo versus Ugo Carabelli in one semifinal, and the other semifinal that I have is going to be Tirante versus Darderi. So in terms of who I think is going to make it to the finals from those, I think this could be an interesting one. I feel like it's super easy to pick Cerundolo and Darderi again. Is it good? Are we going to see a Buenos Aires where it was kind of very chalky? Are we going to see Rio where, it was, a little bit all over the place? I think we're going to see something in the middle in this one. So what I think we're going to see here is I think we're going to see Ugo Carabelli make it to the final, and I think he's going to face off against Tirante for an all-Argentinian tie in ATP Santiago. Now, this one is definitely not a chalk pick. The chalk pick would be Cerundolo Darderi. But I don't know. I think we might see something in the middle. I think we might see some good players make some good runs. I'm gonna go Ugo Carabelli versus Tirante, but I would not be surprised at all if we had Cerundolo and Darderi. I feel pretty confident. Not confident, that's the wrong word because you can never be confident picking any of these matches. But I do feel pretty strongly, I think it's a better word, on the semifinal picks I have, that group of four. I think, yeah, I feel like those are some very strong players. I think the Tirante pick is definitely an interesting one. I can see a couple players in that section winning, but I do see Cerundolo and Darderi bouncing back, and I definitely see either Ugo Carabelli or Echeverri, and maybe Yari making it to the semifinal. So yeah, that's my ATP Santiago draw recap, review, and preview.